Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and enjoying their time and space at home. Um, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to inverses of matrices. Now, what do you think of when you see the word inverse, mathematically speaking, to algebra honors speaking, um, regarding what we did earlier this semester? I'll give you a moment. Go ahead. Uh, Close. Try again. Yes, that's exactly it. We did that with functions. Remember, functions had inverses where, say, we had like f of x was 2x plus 1, and then we changed f of x to y, and then we switched x and the y, and then we solved for y, yada, yada, yada. And the resulting equation was the inverse that we wrote like this, which would have been, in this case, x minus 1 over 2. That was from chapter 4. That was the first thing we did in chapter 4 before we learned about exponential functions and logarithms. So, and all it really meant was this is the equation you get. In this case, this is the equation we get when we switch the x and y and solve for y. And in other words, if you were to graph this equation, it would look like this equation, but flipped over the y equals x line. So just a reminder, it's good to always remember what we did earlier. So just how functions had inverses, matrices have inverses too. But before we do that, here are some memes that we saw in the in that one math meme assignment. I love this one. So I'm sure you all understood all three jokes because you remember them. So matrices have inverses too. So say suppose matrix A is equal to is this 2 by 2 matrix, and let's find the inverse of A. So all you need to do is on your calculators, when you type in the matrix, so as you can see, you already have matrix A written or typed in. So you can go to matrix and just choose matrix A or whatever matrix letter you put it under. And do you see the button that you press to get to the matrix? When you do second and x to the negative 1, all you have to do is press x to the negative 1 without the second. This means inverse. And there's your inverse of matrix A. And that's all you have to do. Even if you had a 3 by 3 matrix, which I just have a random one from a previous video. Oops, don't do second. Apparently you can't undo pressing second. So whoa. Anyway, you get the idea. Point is you can do it to any square matrix, meaning it has to be a 2 by 2, a 3 by 3, 4 by 4. So here's the inverse of whatever I had for matrix C. So there we go. That's what the matrix, this is what the inverse is of this matrix. And again, this is just some random one I had. And notice when I did a double inverse, I ended up getting the original back. Pretty cool. So that's all you really have to know for inverses is how to do it on a calculator. Because there's no final exams are different or change or cancel for this year, whatever. For now, just know that the inverse of matrices can be found on a calculator, on your calculators. Sorry, it's too early in the morning and I can't talk. You don't have to worry about doing it by hand. Just know that when I asked you to find the inverse, you could do that on your calculators only. Okay? So there's your inverse of matrix A. So now on the homework, and by the way, for the homework, make sure you note this. So since today's assignment is 8_8, ignore the problems I crossed out in red and just focus on these 5 problems. So here's one example of from the homework. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do this one because it's too easy to do because our n plus already did number 2. So in the homework is going to ask you determine whether B is the inverse of A. So here's matrix A, and we already calculated the inverse back on this page, and this is the teacher's edition, so you have the answers right there. So yes, because matrix B matches what we got on the calculator, that's the inverse. And actually doing matrices for 2x2, inverses for 2x2 matrices is really easy. All you're really doing is switching these places, these two numbers, and changing the sign for those two. For a 3x3, it's a lot more difficult. Do not worry about that. Okay? I'm not sure how much time I have, but during our Zoom session, we can talk about what it really means. But for now, this is all you have to know. All right? Good luck on your homework. Hope to see your faces on Zoom today. If not, don't worry about it. Hope to see you or hear from you guys soon. And I hope that we do get back to school this year. Go Kids!